Welcome to Fuzzybutts and Friends. Well, as much as it drives Fuzzybutts all over this place absolutely crazy when they hear me say it, I am the host of the show, your big dog, Luke Robinson, back again with you this week. And look over there next to me, who's back again. It's Ginger Morgan. She's my co-host, the co-producer, and she's also the executive director of the Puppy Up Foundation. Ginger, how are you?
I'm doing well. Getting ready for the holiday season. Well, I guess we're in the holiday season, and I really have to get my Christmas shopping done.
Yeah, I think we're well into it so far.
Yeah,
Well,
and I'm very behind.
me too. Well, as you know, it's the holiday season. It's a special time of the year. We know this time of the year, a lot of our audience, a lot of our listeners, they travel. They get their travel time in December and January, so they're going to be needing the services of our guest today, Ginger. I'm very proud, happy to introduce. We've got Karen Ambrosh. My apologies. She's with Fetch, and we also have Carolyn Alonzo with us as well, also with Fetch. So we've got two representatives from Fetch Pet Care with us today. Karen and Carolyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And again, I have to apologize. I just had dental work on my mouth, and I can't feel the left side. So if I slur or mumble, that's the reason. So my apologies for the rough introduction to the two of you. Happy holidays to both of you. Thank you, and welcome to Fuzzybutts and Friends.
Thank you for having us.
All right, we like to start off every episode. The reason for our being is with Fuzzybutts. So Karen, let's start off with you. So tell us about your Fuzzybutts.
Well, I have two Fuzzybutts at home. I have my pug, Addie, and she's 8 years old, and my cat, Alice, who has just started. It's 2 years now, and she has started to come into her own, very shy and quiet. And the minute Addie would bark, that cat would run in the basement. But she has now decided to, take on the living room, and she just started batting with my Christmas ornaments as toys. And so I'm starting to see the other side of Alice. So we'll see where that goes. But,
so Addie's a sweetheart. Alice is the troublemaker. But I guess this is the season for cats, though, right? They love Christmas time.
Yes.
All right, Carolyn, tell us about your Fuzzybutts.
Yeah, so I have my husband and I have four Fuzzybutts. We have all dogs, three beagles, and one Chihuahua, Pug, Terrier. Goodness only knows. So we've got a full house here. And the mix, the pug mix, she's actually blind. She's been blind like for 2 years now, and so that's been interesting. But we've got a nice little group. We've had dogs all of our lives since we've been together, and this is probably the best group we've had. They really gel nicely.
That's wonderful. Two happy, warm households full of Fuzzybutts for the holiday season. That's wonderful. Well, let's get. And since we have, for those of you that aren't watching, I guess you've surmised we have two guests on. We typically have one. We have two guests on, and they're both with Fetch Pet Care. So I guess I'll start with you, Karen. Let's talk. Why don't you start with your origin story, how you got to Fetch, and then also tell us a little bit about Fetch as well, how you got involved with them.
Well, really, Carolyn is the reason that we're here. Because Carolyn has been with Fetch Pet Care for many years, so it's her fault, because she's related to our friend Donna, who we've taught with. So there's 5 of us who are teachers who taught together for many years at Audubon Middle and High School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And as we were getting near retirement, we were all kind of like, we need something. We want something for post teaching. And so we have had this in the back of our mind for about 5 years or so. And we've been talking with Carolyn and Greg for a while. And then last year, we just decided it was the right time, and we made it happen. So it was Carolyn's guidance and from their experience in Chicago that we were able to bring Fetch Fetch franchise to Milwaukee. So we're about a year in, and we're all still friends after a year of being in business together. So yes, there's 5 of us, and six with Carolyn. So a team of 6 that are running this, and so 6 women together, and we love it, and it's and we're a powerful force. So watch out.
Well, cheers to that. I have tremendous respect and regards for entrepreneurs, small business owners. It's not easy. It's tough out there. And as the 2 of you, I'm sure, as you've already know, it's just a tough economic climate out there as well. But the good thing is you have somewhat of a recession-proof business. Is that actually, I think it's the opposite. I think when things get worse, people adopt more Fuzzybutts. So best of luck to you. Well, how did you? So you were a teacher, but you've always been a lover of Fuzzybutts, I would imagine.
Yes. Exactly. And that's what brought us all together too, is that all of us have been pet lovers. We have, between all of us, we've more dogs. Well, no, can't say that, but we have one. Sarah is a total cat person, and then Donna started with dogs, but then has moved to cats, and then back to dogs, and Kate has dogs and cats and has filled her house. So and then Jane is with us, and she's a dog lover, and so yes, we've bonded over our friendship and our love of animals. And so that's why we felt that this business was meaningful to us, because we know what it means to have that kind of care, that personal care for your pet when you're gone, and knowing that you have someone who cares for your animal the same way that you would when you're home. And
yes,
that's important.
Very well stated, Karen. There's a sacred trust that you have with people like me, our audience, pet parents all over the world. I don't trust anybody, and it's a very important job. I like that you traded handling actual kids with fuzzy kids. I think you traded up in life. So hopefully you have wonderful kids up there in your area that you deal with. Well, Carolyn, let's get to you now. Tell us about your origin story. And since you were the one that roped Karen in, I guess tell us how you did that.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in July of 2007, my husband and I, we started looking into it. And, at the time, both of us were in management positions. He worked for a White Hen corporate, and I worked for a family trucking company as a general manager. And it just wasn't fulfilling. We were looking for something different. And so I remember it was just a Saturday morning. I was doing some scrolling, and I saw an interview on MSN with the founder, the founder, Paul Mann. And that just sucked me in, and I started, reading about it, because pets have always been a part of our lives. My husband and I have been together forever, and, we don't have kids, and pets were always, a part of it. And so if we didn't have, to put them in a kennel or to put them in a facility, something like that, it just wasn't an option. And so if we didn't have somebody that could come here, like a friend or a family member, come to our home and take care of them, it just wasn't going to happen. And so that's why it really spoke to me. And we just started reading more into it and doing more research. And it was just kind of everything. And by November of 2007, just a few months later, we were open. Yeah. So what is that? 4 or 5 months. So yeah, we moved.
Wow.
Yeah. We moved quickly.
You moved very quickly.
Yeah.
And were you still working at your other jobs as well, or did you leave those?
Yeah, good question. So the plan was, at the time, was to have my job, I thought, was very solid. And so the plan was my husband was going to run it, because his contract was ending at his job. So, I was going to keep, working, and he was going to run it. Well, lo and behold, the tables turned, and I got let go, and he got an extension. And so I started running the business, and kind of never looked back.
So that's 16 years you've been in business now?
Yeah, so just November, it was 16 years, yeah.
Cheers to that. That's admirable to be going that long and going strong. That's congratulations. That's a tremendous accomplishment. Well, now that we have a little bit of both of your origin stories, Carolyn, since you've been involved with pet care, longer than Karen has. What talk to us about the company itself and why you chose Fetch to franchise from?
Sure. I mean, I don't think that, I mean, I never thought of myself as a business owner. I guess looking back, the different choices I made in different jobs kind of led me to this point. But I never really looked at myself as a business owner or a small business owner or anything like that. But it was just the fact that, it all came down to pets, having pets in my life, just being an animal advocate in every possible way. It just really spoke to me. And then just Fetch as a whole has always been such an amazing company. The people there, just the support system, the tools they give you to really set yourself up for success. Because when we succeed, they succeed, right? And so they are just really hands-on, and they've just been wonderful to work with all of these years. And so everywhere from the marketing to the different platforms, our app, it's been really wonderful to be with them all of these years and just kind of see how things have evolved, and things are so different than when we first started. But it's an amazing organization to be a part of. We're all like-minded, pet lovers. That's what we all have in common.
Well, it makes a difference with the franchise, the parent franchise, is that their support that they extend and give, because that's, to me, that's really, you're buying the brand, but if the brand is young and new, that doesn't bring a lot of goodwill, a lot of capital with it. The support is the thing, especially if you've never been in business before. There's the back office that people think your kind of business, oh, I get to walk dogs and interact dogs and spend the night and all that. Well, there's all the back office stuff that goes along with it that nobody wants to do, but has to be done. So how long has the parent company been around, Carolyn?
23 years.
Okay. So you got in pretty early then. Well, it was pretty young. And where are they based out of?
Initially California, now the home office is in Livonia, Michigan.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, they clearly have a good brand, because they've expanded to the point where they've come to Memphis. That's actually sort of how I came to know you. We tried to acquire or use the services of Fetch here locally. We'll talk about that in a little while. But so clearly they're doing well and they're expanding. So in the dog world, I would assume, or at least hope, that you have to be taking care of your charges, that is the Fuzzybutt you care for, to be able to expand your brand like they have. So congratulations and cheers to that. And it's good you're working for a good company. So let's talk about Fetch. Let's get to the I guess the machine, the working parts of Fetch. I guess I initially just thought it was a dog walking service, but it's a lot more than that. So tell us about all the different services. Just talk to us about Fetch, what you guys do there and what you provide for your pet parents, please.
Sure, absolutely. So yes, absolutely, the dog walking is absolutely a part of it. But it's also really, I think, what Fetch was, started to be known for is the in-home pet care service. So where the pet gets to stay at home, and the pet sitter comes to your home, and you're able to, provide the Fetch is able to provide that routine, provide that consistency, just as if the client were home. So it's all about maintaining that routine, maintaining that consistency. So yes, the dog walks, the overnights, pet taxis, the cat and small animal visits. We also do some fun services that some other companies don't offer, a wedding service. So we can be your pet chaperone. A lot of people, right, they want to have their pet a part of the big day. So we will be the pet chaperone and bring them to the event, bring them to the reception so they can be a part of the pictures, maybe walk the ring down the aisle. But yeah, that's a really fun service that we offer. We offer a variety of services, but nothing is cookie cutter, right? So we can be flexible. If we get a unique request, or we get some sort of, different kind of thing a client needs, we'll do our best to work with them to make sure that we can accommodate whatever their needs are.
I love the pet taxi and taking them to weddings. That's awesome. Do you also take or do you also ferry or transport Fuzzybutts to like doctor's appointments, vet appointments, and grooming or things like that?
Yes, that's what a lot of people use us for, is taking them to their vet appointments. If they don't have a car, or they're not able to drive, we can take them to their vet appointments, their groomers appointments, training, things like that. Sure.
Yeah. Well, I
And
bet you
that's
see all sorts in the Chicago area. I would imagine people have all sorts of requests there. I would imagine.
Yeah, that's a popular service. Yeah. I'm sorry, Karen, were you gonna pick
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
well, that's what I was going to say, is that what we've discovered in this first year is that some of our clients have some of those unusual needs. And it's really been a powerful experience to help someone. We had someone in assisted living to be able to help keep her dog with her, but she couldn't walk anymore. And she had someone who could walk the dog during the week, but weekends, the family and someone couldn't do it. So we were able to step in and help keep the dog with her. And it was a dog that was older. And so we were able to be there. And it was more about, it was also about visiting with the owner, and then giving the dog some playtime and just some company for both of them. And then another client too, it was an older couple that had some medical issues on their part. So it was a combination of doing a little bit of grooming of the dog, some walking, and then if they needed some help getting that dog to different appointments and things, we were there for them for lots of different services. So you become an assistant to these families and help these people keep their dogs with them, which is so important at a time for elderly people when they need those companions with them.
Absolutely. And I can speak to this personally. It's so important that you do this because I recently broke my foot and I'm like almost 5 weeks into it. And I'm extremely limited. It's a spiral break. It's not good. I don't think I'll have to get the surgery on it, but I now understand, as I'm getting older, I now exactly understand what it must be like for pet parents out there, especially ones that live alone and have fuzzy butts and they can't walk their dog. They're extremely limited what they could do, especially if they have a special needs dogs or fuzzy butts, which I do. I have a three-legged one, but more importantly, my oldest one, Indy, he has peripheral neuropathy in his hind legs, and he's just having a hard time. He can't really get up, and I can't walk him. I just can't do it. So I can only imagine that there are pet parents out there that are at that point where they're not physically able to take care of their kids 100%, but they can't imagine life without them. So that's just wonderful that you do that. Now, I would imagine that would probably be an increasing part of your business. I would imagine just assisting people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's start with you, Carolyn. What are some of the Well, I did take a note here. I went in on the website, did some due diligence, and looked at some of the services. And one of the questions I had, which I wasn't really clear about, was the Pet Medical Administration. Is that part of the taking care and assisting? If the fuzzy butts require medications, that you guys help with that as well?
Yeah, as we see, they require medications. They have special needs. They have, those medications they need for, regardless, insulin, sub-Qs, basic meds, oral, whatever we need to do. So when we are, staffing, when we're interviewing for our pet sitters, our employees, we look at sitters that have that experience, that maybe are vet techs or were vet techs or have that experience from, with their own pets, because we do get a lot of requests for that. And then we don't just want to, have any of our sitters do it. We want to make sure that the sitters, just like anything, that they have experience doing it, they're comfortable doing it. And that way too, clients don't have to always, well, obviously, in some cases, yes, but if it's a basic medication or a shot or something, they don't have to take their pet to the vet. That stressful situation, they can have us come in. We can do, some of those meds ourselves.
That's a lot of
Had
work.
a,
Go ahead, please.
I had a friend that took, as a matter of fact, I walked her dogs for her, but took one of her dogs to the vet, and the vet said, you need to give your dog adequate shots. And she was like, I can't do it. And I'm also friends with the vet, and the vet said, call Ginger.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I can do it. So I would go over and give her a shot and take her for a walk as well. Let me ask you a question. So with the people who work for Fetch, are they employees or are they contract workers? Well, those are employees as well, but is it what am I saying, 1099 employee or a contract worker? No. Anyway, however that works. I said it backwards.
W-2. They're W-2.
Thank you. Thank you.
They're not independent contractors. Let me scream that from the rooftops. That is really what sets us apart. Thank you for that question. That really sets us apart from the app type services and some of our other competition. We are employees. That's very important that we have that thoroughly vetted, thoroughly screened, background checked, insured, bonded, the whole thing. Absolutely.
Okay, because I was looking at other, some of the other, like your competitors, and it seemed like, they're like, oh, because there would be I would get ads like, come work for us, right? And I'm looking at it, it's like, well, you can pick and choose who you want to do, and I'm like, well, that sounds like you could see a different dog every day, or as a client, you're not going to get the same person coming to walk your dog or medicate your dog or be your taxi. And I know it doesn't always work that it's going to be the same one because there are vacations and people get sick. But
and Karen can speak to this too as well. I mean, our goal, we talked about consistency, providing that routine. That also means when we're assigning pet sitters. So we don't want to assign different people every time, right? That connection, that relationship between the pet sitter and the client and the pet is really important. And so we do our best to always assign that same sitter every time. That is a huge part of what we do, what we want to do, especially with those pets that have separation anxiety, some behavioral issues. That connection, that consistency is really important.
Yeah.
That's actually what I wrote right down here. Relationship is yours is a relationship business. Continuity of care is so important because you really nailed it right there, Carolyn. You just said is that I know I helped Ginger walk a couple of Goldens for some aging friends of hers out, and they bond with you and you bond with them. And then they have that expectation, and they want that dogs want that continuity. They don't want a new dog walker every day, especially if you're having to give meds, because I've lost 3 dogs to cancer. Ginger's lost more than that. Combined, we've lost a lot. And there are some dogs that just absolutely do not like taking meds, and it would be incredibly difficult for one of your employees to develop that rapport that it takes, that trusting relationship with a dog or a cat. I don't have experience giving cats pills, but I imagine it's probably not as easy or as difficult as well. But that requires a rapport, a bond, a trust that develops over time. So it is important. I didn't know that was such an important distinction, Ginger, and I'm glad you brought it up, that the differences between W-2 and 1099 employees, the contract type, which you don't know, and you can't have that continuity of care. But Carolyn, let me ask you this. It must make scaling a business difficult because the benefit of having contract employees is that you can go into a new market and not actually have a bricks and mortar there. You can contract people out. But then you don't have all the vetting, right? You don't see all the things. You don't get to spend face time, which also begs the question, another question, as part of the vetting process, actually spending time and training each and every employee, I would imagine, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. I mean, since day one, I've always screened my employees. I've thoroughly vetted them. I do, the reviewing the applications, scheduling the interview, asking the questions, running the background checks, training them so they understand, our best practices, what our expectations are, all of that. That's I'm not in Milwaukee, and so that's my main contribution to my Milwaukee market as well as making sure that we've got the best of the best on, and making sure that they're representing us and the company properly.
Absolutely, but it does make scaling, and it does make operational. You have to take on a bit more overhead and operational costs, but that's worth it because, as Karen was saying, as a pet parents need that. We need that trust. We need to know that you're doing your job, that you're making sure the person that's going to be walking Indiana or Grayson or whoever are going to get them killed, cross the street, aren't going to be texting or doing whatever when they're crossing a street and have an accident. So it's a big factor. Well, Karen, since you're new to this, well, relatively newer than Carolyn is, let's start with you. I'm sure you have a ton of interesting, funny stories to talk about and share with us as you've gotten used to this business.
Well, first I want to say, as experiencing it for the employees, I also think I have found that it's a benefit for the employees to be employees rather than contracted workers. They have the benefit of the support that we offer as owners. We go with them for the first several visits, so they have that support that they're not out there on their own. If they don't feel comfortable with a client, they can talk to us and we handle that situation for them. So they don't have to, they're not out there on their own, and they don't feel comfortable with the dog situation, or a client doesn't feel comfortable, the home or whatever the situation might be. And there's backup if they're sick, something happens. We have 6 owners, 5 that are in the area, and all the other employees, that if something happens, there's someone else that's going to walk that dog. That's not something that a lot of other rivals of ours can offer, because you go with one person and then they can't make it, you're out of luck with having coverage for your dog or your cat. So I love the team that we build. As a company, we build a team, and we really have that with our owners, and we back each other up. And so that's a nice feature. And then it happens when you say funny stories. I have learned that, I've always had small dogs, and so this summer I was like, oh sure, I can walk these dogs, and my friend Kate and I were handling these dogs, and it was a large dog and a little dog. The little dog we just put out in the backyard, but the big dog we had to walk. And she's like, oh, he's a gentle giant, no problem.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden there were 2 big dogs across the street, and this guy is gentle, but he wanted to get across the street. Well, I was getting pulled across the street, going like, I'm trying to stop him. So yeah, it was a wake-up call for me, that I was like, wow, because he was half my size, and I was like, okay, I know what my limitations are. So yeah, I learned my limitations as a dog walker, and but so then I made a plan. The next time my husband came with me, we had 2 leashes. We were ready for the next time. Then nothing happened after that. He's a sweetheart of a dog, and we love taking care of him. So, but you do have to be ready for all situations, because you never know what's going to happen.
You're absolutely right, and you are dependent upon the information that the pet parent gives you, right?
Yes.
Oh no, he's a sweetheart, he's great.
Yes.
People, I've heard that. I don't know if you know about my history, but I've walked 4,250 miles cross country because I lost my dogs to cancer, and I've walked them with my dogs. So I've met a lot of pet parents. I've met a lot of pet parents with cancer. I've stayed in the homes of hundreds and hundreds of pet parents all across the country. And so I always crack up whenever I stay with somebody. It's like, oh no, little Susie, no, she's a sweetheart. And then you go there, Susie's a Chihuahua, she's a monster.
Yeah.
And then there's always karma.
Yeah.
That's right. But we think of our own kids as sweethearts. They're never any problem childs, but the truth is they are problems, and you have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I mentioned karma, and Luke just kind of right over that, but he was at some supporters' house in Kansas, I believe it was, and they had a Rottweiler named Karma, and she literally bit him in the butt.
Karma actually bit me in the ass. Yep.
Yeah.
Say that word, it's okay. But it's only the second dog that's ever bitten me. I had a little dog when I was in high school. It was on my lap, and I was petting it with both hands. Again, after I was petting it with two hands and kind of stroking it like that, and the dog just bit me in the eye. After that, my friend from my high school mate that I was with, she was like, "Oh, you can't pet the dog with two hands." I'm like, well, that's useful information that was after the fact. But yes, we were doing an event or at some pet parents' house, and they had a dog named Karma. I turned around and whap, got me right there. But so you do have, but I think that's the great part, is that part of being with Fuzzybutts, caring for Fuzzybutts, is the surprise element. And most often it's a good surprise. It's a wonderful surprise, and it's a wonderful story. But you do get the one that you get the challenges, the challenging kids. That's for sure. What about you, Carolyn? Can you have some good stories for us, or interesting? I'm sure you have a ton.
You know, I mean, while Karen was answering that question, I'm like, okay, think what stories? What do I have? And honestly, I think that, I mean, my sitters here in Chicago could write volumes about the things that they've encountered and the things that they've seen, and yeah, there's been some funny situations for sure. I guess, I mean, not funny, but I could talk really, quickly about when during COVID. I can just talk to our level of clients. Just, the type of clients we have, they're just amazing. That year was a kind of a scary year for everybody, but especially small business owners. And our clients really kept us afloat. There's a group of clients we have where, they said, look, hey, we obviously don't want you coming for your walks and your visits, but we're still going to pay you like you are coming. Because when this is all over, whatever that looks like, we still want you to be our walker. We still want you to we want you to survive this. Right. And we want to keep our time slot. We love our walker. We love our sitters. And so, not funny, but just, speaking to just a level of the clientele we service, and just, again, like that bond between the sitters and the clients, and the connection they have with Fetch and who we are and what we do, I think, says a lot. So.
Well, no, that's a tremendous story. It's almost as good as a funny, silly Fuzzybutt story, because it speaks to, first of all, it speaks to the nature of true dog lovers. Is it true dog lovers, Fuzzybutt lovers of animals, or just a different breed of person, and that speaks to that, but it also speaks to the loyalty you have from your customers and the level of service that you provide for them. So that's a wonderful story. I bet COVID was really a challenging time because everybody was at home, and but it's good that you had those that stepped in, because you're right. Had you not survived COVID, then when everybody started going back to work, you wouldn't be around to take care of their kids. So they actually had an vested interest in keeping you afloat.
For sure.
I have a funny pet sitting story. My background is in advertising, and I left there really with no plan. And I just my friends like, oh, hey, you don't have a job. Can you pet sit? And it just sort of, evolved. But I don't even know how these people got my name, because it's all word of mouth if I do pet sitting. And but I took care of their dogs. I went over and met everybody. They went out of town for like a long weekend or something. And they left all these instructions. And the instructions were, part of the instructions, you have to sing them these lullabies. Well, exactly. So I'm looking at them, and I don't have children. I have lots of nephews and nieces, but I'm not the one who sings them lullabies. So I knew some of the lullabies, but not all of them. So I guess the dogs must have complained, because those people never called me back. Again.
Either that, or you had a really bad you had a bad singing voice. Well, that is, I actually have met so many pet sitters on my travels, and I've kind of heard some of their really and I got some from you to see if you guys have ever heard of them. Ginger, this one in Virginia, one of our pet sitting friends. She had clients that would actually pay her people. She had a big business, pay her people to go and change the channel. So, like, actually travel to the house and change the channel. She's like, my little, Grayson loves Animal Planet, but at 5 p.m., you know, animal rescue comes on and it's too much, it's too stressful, so you got to turn on the Disney Channel or something like that. So her dog sitters would actually have to travel out just to change the channel. And I thought that was, have you had any clients requests like that so far? Or?
Not that. I know there is a particular client that always does want to know what toys her pets are playing with. That she wants us wants some specifics there. How long did they play with them, which toys were they, that sort of thing. And that's fine. If that gives you peace of mind, we will absolutely document that for you. But yeah, no, the changing of the channels, that sounds like something I would do.
I would too, because I don't want chaos. Because some dogs actually, Ginger has a dog, Kelly, that actually seriously watches TV. And I'm like, I don't think I want her to watch like the TV I watch, as still as I watch. It could be traumatic. Well, Karen, what about you? Here's another crazy thing that I've heard about. I've heard some people actually request that you do cat sitting, actually stay the night for the cat. I can understand dogs. That to me is totally translatable. But what about, have you ever had to sleep over just for a cat, spend the night just for a cat?
Well, yes, I have. We've had, it's actually one of our sitters who is like adamant about extreme care for cats, because she herself wants, the cats need that much attention. So she was staying extra, like she was like, my God, I can't believe these people would leave these cats alone for this long. My cats would never get this. So yeah, so I do know cat people who are do want their cats that should have 24-hour care, kind of a thing.
And God bless them. I think if they can afford that, they have that. I think Fuzzybutts, all animals should have the best life that possibly can. So I think I didn't mean just for cats, for our cat audience out there. Our cats should have a great life too, even though I'm a dog. I was born the year of the dog, so I'm truly a dog. But cats should also have marquee services as well, and I think that's really neat. Carolyn, you mentioned a second ago about toys, and some of the pet parents want to know what toys they play with. What about photos? One of the things that Ginger does when she takes care of her friends, Fuzzybutts, is she always sends photos of them playing. I'm sure that's something that your pet sitters want, just to know.
Yeah.
Just to know, so if I'm away on business, I want to know what my kids are doing and that they're happy and having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is something that we've always been able to provide, and something that we strongly, convey to our sitters. That is definitely part of it. We have an app now. I always want to say we have an app. We're not an app-based service. We have an app, and that is part of it. The journaling, letting clients know how their pets are doing, and then sending pictures on top of that. So there's always a few pictures every visit to go along with the journals, just so they can see, all eyes are on the pets. We see them all. Everybody's good, and this is what they're doing. So yeah, that is a huge part of it. It's all about the peace of mind for the client. So, whether they're away doing something really fun, they're on a fun vacation, or whether they're away dealing with something stressful, we always want to make sure that they have that peace of mind. They don't have to second guess did they pick the right pet care service? No, they're getting that, those pictures, that communication, which really just, it's everything for them.
Absolutely. So tell us about this app. I'm curious, because I was curious if actually pet parents use the app to call your taxi service, so you pull up just like Uber. So it's kind of like Uber for Fuzzybutts, but they can actually upload photos to the app, and then the pet parent can then get the notification and then see the photos in the app, within the app.
Exactly.
That's next level. That's really speaks to the franchise Fetch. That's next level, and I think that's a wonderful service. Because the other thing is the other option are the pet hotels, and they have, like, some of the best ones have the cameras in there full time. So I'm that kind of pet parent where if I leave, I've got to know. Whenever I think about them, I got to know they're okay. So I probably would drive you guys nuts. I'd be texting you all day long. That's Indiana.
I have a funny cat story. So I started to say babysit. I pet sit for a friend of mine that lives pretty close, and she used to have more dogs, but now she's down to 3 male dogs and 3 male cats. Well, one of her cats is used to really love and sleep with one of her dogs that recently passed away. And all the dogs and the cats are invited to sleep with me. Well, Ducky, one night, she had, the way her bed is made, or the bed that I stay in is made, has like a ledge on top of the headboard. And he just walked through there and like knocked everything out. She had this little like reading light, and it hit me in the head at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And so yeah, Ducky does not get to sleep with me anymore. So I told her, I ran into her at the vet's office, and she was talking about something that we were all talking about her cat. And I said, yeah, he doesn't sleep with me. I said, no, after knocking me out, almost not waking me up and knocking me out with the lamp, no, we're done.
You know,
I don't think isn't just exclusive to Ducky, right? That's a cat thing, right? They will.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They knock. But he didn't do that before because he snuggled up with the dog. So I think that was just one of his things. And I don't know if he couldn't snuggle up, why he couldn't snuggle up with me. Well, it could have been because of the 3 dogs, but he didn't mind them before, because he would just get up and would get in. I put a bed for the dog that passed away. She had a bed on top of the bed, and he would get in that bed with her. And I don't know, I guess maybe he just thought it was my fault.
Something's different. If something's different, the cat's going to let you know.
But he sure did.
To me, any cat named Ducky, that's suspect, just from like right out the start. That's a cat that I don't know, I'm going to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Well, trust me, you should.
But what about, we talked a little bit about how you're so reliant with the pet parent giving you the correct data or information about their kids. How much, Karen, let's start with you. How much of your job is actually educating pet parents, helping them, or do you feel a need to educate pet parents, about when you're talking to them about when they're looking to acquire your services, what to look for? Do you educate them on, hey, this is why we use only W-2 employees, not contract or 1099 employees? Do you feel like a big part of your job is educating pet parents? Because I know I've met so many pet parents, and God bless them, they're wonderful people, but sometimes they don't know the right service. How do they, as Ginger was alluding to, there are competitors out there. You can go on Nextdoor or one of those social media apps, and they have dog walkers there. So do you have to, Karen, do you have to spend your time helping parents understand the right questions to ask and how to vet the right service to get?
Is that for Karen or me?
So start with Karen. I'm sorry, did I say Carolyn?
Yeah, that's okay. I was going to say, I think for us in a new market, we definitely have to help people understand. And I think one of the things is that a lot of people are calling because they've been relying on friends and family, and now they're moving to a business or a service. And so they're like, well, how does this work? So most definitely we have to help them understand the differences between, asking your neighbor to walk someone and what it means to having a service do this. So yes, we do need to educate them about what we are all offering them, and the differences between the types of services.
Yeah.
Not just like the differences, but the benefits as well. Karen, you mentioned earlier, having a backup in place.
Right.
The person down the street, the independent, isn't necessarily going to have someone in place if that person gets sick or has a family emergency. We are staffed properly, and so if something does go sideways, we always have a plan B. We're structured that way.
Well, I think maybe I want to interject this. So just a second. So for you, Karen, and for Carolyn, both, when you get the people that say, well, I used to have my neighbor take care of them and they couldn't do it, and so they referred me to this high school kid or college kid, and I'm not saying all high school or college kids are like this, but then it was a bad experience because the dog wasn't taken care of right. Or with some friends of mine, the guy had a party at their house, and 3 o'clock in the morning. The neighbors are texting them and they're in Canada, you know. So it's just when the conversation starts out is, well, a friend recommended this college student. I just always roll my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, you know, there's a lot of opportunities for people that love pets to provide, you know, sitting and walking services, but they're not always cut out for it. And so that's where, you know, we come in, and we want to make sure that we are, you know, doing our due diligence for our clients, making sure that we ask the right questions, you know, we do the thorough vetting, you know, references, whatever that, you know, process looks like. But we, you know, we're the professionals. I mean, we've been doing this for, you know, in general, 23 years. And just to be clear, you know, obviously, you know, Fetch has been around for 23 years, but each location, I think it's pretty obvious though, each location is, you know, locally owned and operated. We're each considered a small business. And so we work really hard to make sure, like I said before, that we've got people out there that are representing us properly.
Mhm.
You touched on a really important point, and that is vetting clients. Because I have met so many pet parents, thankfully, only a very small percentage of them are knuckleheads, but there are the knuckleheads out there that they either have incorrect expectations of what needs to be done, or they're just not good pet parents. So it seems like you do a pretty thorough job of vetting your clients before you take them on, before you provide them services. Is that right, Carolyn?
Yeah, we do. We ask the right questions because sometimes for a lot of these pet parents, this might be the first pet that they have. They're not sure. They don't know what they don't know. So we want to make sure we're kind of guiding them the right way. You know, if somebody says, "Oh, I'm going on a week's vacation, you only need to come in to see my dog once, you know, 30 minutes a day," we have to have a conversation of what proper
A
pet
long
care looks
conversation.
like. Yep, exactly. So yeah, sometimes we do need to have those conversations, and sometimes that isn't, you know, the client for us, but we do welcome that opportunity. We are, you know, very well experienced in having those conversations. So, but yeah, sometimes that will happen.
Or like
And then
go ahead, please.
we do the meet and greet after the phone call. Then there's the meet and greet, and that we usually send, like I say, with new sitters, we'll send 2 people to that, because that really helps to have 2 eyes and 2 people asking the questions. And so we go into the home, and that's where then we're looking at the home, we're looking at the clients, and interacting with the dog. And that way the sitter can be interacting with the dog, and the other person can be talking to the clients and asking questions about, like, what do we all need to do, what's your regular routine, and talking about and making sure that everything's a good fit. And that way the client can see that the sitter has a really good rapport with the animal as well. And that way the sitter feels confident that they can take care of the animal. Like, you can even ask, like, let's try the leash process. Let me take him outside. Let me, because again, if you're not feeling comfortable about all of that, with some people, if there's an animal that isn't trained as well, we have to know that going in. We had a situation where we had 2 dogs, very large dogs, that the 2 of us that went in there, and we both said, we're not sure we'd want to walk these dogs. Are you okay if we keep them in the backyard and just exercise them in the backyard? Because of all the things they were saying about how they're reactive dogs out on the street. And so the clients were fine with us not walking them, and then just having them in the backyard, because we just didn't feel comfortable at that point. And so
Right.
The meet and greet is huge. The meet and greet is huge. It's for everybody's benefit, the client and the sitters as well. Going in blind, I don't know how some services do that. That's a tricky, scary thing. So we absolutely, if we cannot do a meet and greet before the service starts for a new client, then we're not going to be able to do the service, because it's crucial.
Yeah, I just thought about that as like if some of the knucklehead pet parents that we're talking about. There are some out there that have very large breed dogs or aggressive dogs, and they don't have the proper gear on them for you to walk, the harnesses to restrict them, and then so the whole setup is unsafe for the dog, and it's also unsafe for the walker as well. And that's something that, as you were saying, Carolyn, you just don't want to jump into. You show up on day one and you don't have the right gear, the dog, you can't even walk the dog safely. So that would be a nightmare scenario.
Yeah, I don't know how some people do that. We would never do that. The employee and the pet safety is always our top priority. So yeah, it's just something we won't negotiate on.
Is there anything else that the two of you would like to talk about, your experiences? I'll start with you first, Karen, with Fetch, or some stories or some ideas or thoughts you want to share with pet parents out there, prospective clients that you want to educate them about.
Well, I mean, we're here to serve, and we really see it as a service, just as we do in teaching. It's a job, but it's also a purpose. You know, there's a purpose to it, and so we want to help people, and so it's a helping profession, and so we see it that way, and we hope that our clients see that that relationship that we want to build with them. But then on top of that, the other piece that we love, that's where we're building a relationship with Ginger, is the work that we get to do outside in the community and working with the rescues that we work with. We have just thoroughly enjoyed getting involved in our community with the different rescues, and getting to know the people in our area that are all caring for animals in all different ways. And we are just amazed at the people that work for animals and animals in need in our area. So that part of what we do is phenomenal.
And we're hoping to have a puppy up walk in the
Yes.
Milwaukee area next year. Hopefully that will come through
Yes,
for all of us, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
We do have our a yes on our location. So and interested at the South Shore Yacht Club.
Oh, wow. I didn't hear you had the yes. All right.
Well,
then.
yes, we just have to work on dates and follow
Okay.
up on that. But
All right. Well, all right. I'll when we get off of here, I'll start sending out emails to you.
I was actually going to I was going to ask you about. Thank goodness it's not Chicago. We tried a couple of walks in Chicago, and Chicago was just a tough nut to crack, because it's not. Chicago is in a giant city. It's a bunch of small cities, and
Inside a giant city.
inside a giant city, and every little town has different demographics, different everything. And so it's just a tough nut to crack. But Milwaukee, we love Milwaukee there. Thank you for doing that.
And we love Chicago, Carol.
Oh yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just hard.
Yeah, well, we've had successful walks in the suburbs, just trying to get an actual walk in the city proper. We did that wonderful, beautiful dog park, the dog beach, down right on Lake Michigan. Yep, and it was just a perfect setting. But one of the things that you were speaking to, Carolyn, that I wanted to bring up and mention is about the franchising, and it was something that Karen was saying, is that corporatizing this gives pet parents a much bigger assurance that this is a profession, that you're not just fly by night dog walkers. This isn't a side hustle. You hear that term now because the economy is crushing everybody. Everybody's got to be making income streams coming in from every direction. But as a pet parent, I don't want that. I want somebody that this is a profession and their passion. To me, that's extremely important. I think, Carolyn, back to you, what you're saying about so corporatization scares me, because when something becomes giant, it forgets about all the little things that get crushed underneath its weight. But franchising, as you were speaking to a moment ago, Carolyn, is a much better model for pet sitting services that you have to offer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, I think, it is a franchise. But like I said before, we're all locally owned and operated, and we really have the flexibility to kind of, make the partnerships we want to make, and kind of structure it how we want to structure it. Obviously, there's, brand standards and things like that that we have to adhere to, but we really can, make our small businesses into something that we want them to be. So, if we want to partner with different, rescues, or partner with, wedding venues, or, apartment building, whatever it looks like, we can do those things. And so, yeah, there's definitely a benefit of being in a franchise, because, like I was saying earlier, you've got that backing, you've got the tools to help you be successful. I don't know if I ever could have done it just on my own, and, the website and all of, the different platforms and different things like that. I think it's impossible for one person just to kind of do it on their own. So having that support is everything.
Yes, it is. Is it reasonably is it reasonably priced, so that some of our audience members who like Karen, like you, who were kind of saw the horizon, I want to retire in a couple of years, and I want to just do something with Fuzzybutts. That's all I want to do. So so for those audience members that are listening and thinking about that, Carolyn, is it fairly easy and reasonably priced to franchise Fetch Pet Care?
Yeah, it is. I think as franchises go, I want to say it's things are different a little bit now than they were when we first opened, but yeah, no, as franchises go, I think it's one of the more cost, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't inexpensive.
cost
I use reasonably priced. I didn't know what word to use either, because you don't want to say cheap, but reasonably priced.
Well,
Economical, maybe?
but the beautiful thing,
Economical.
yeah, because it's also not, there's no building involved. There's no building and or a lot of product. There's no product to buy, because it's all people based. So that's the beauty of it, is that we're investing in people. And so the cost of buying into the franchise is very reasonable, because if 5 teachers can do it, teachers, then anybody can do it. So yes, we were able to, and it took all of us to pool our little bit of money together, so that it wasn't a huge investment on any one of our parts, and that's how we did it. But and the support of the franchise, the training, we all went to the training together, so that is phenomenal, because none of us knew what it all takes to start a business. And it's been a learning curve for this first year, for sure. But we've had that support that we needed to make it happen. And they're staying with us on that process, and finding different ways, like, okay, well, that's not working, let's try this, we'll see what else we can do. So that's the beauty of a franchise, that makes it possible to figure this out. And because I'd rather invest in people than have to invest in vans and buildings and real estate and all of that. It's the important part is the people, and that's what we understand.
Yeah, I did have that on my list of questions, is that it is infrastructure free for the most part, so that makes the cost to buy in a lot lower, a lot less, the commitment a lot less. But I gotta tell you, Karen, that's just a great story. 5 friends, co-workers, or 5 friends got together and pooled their money and acquired a franchise. That's a wonderful story for our audience, that it can be done, and you guys are a year into it. So has it been a good year, or has it been a tough year, or a learning year, or you're excited for
learning curve for sure? My joke has been, when I went to the training, and one of our friends chose not to join us, and I was like, well, you're not going to get the BMW, like I'm going to have a BMW by next year, and so I've been kind of complaining, like I don't have my BMW yet. So it's a couple of years down the road, I'm guessing. So we knew it's not going to make millions in 5 or 10 or 20 years. We're not in it to make millions. We're just, you know, in it to maybe make a
I love
profit
that.
and have fun, have fun
Right.
along the way.
Right,
And,
absolutely.
and then when we get to work at, you know, all of us were living the dream when we got to play cornhole at a brewery on a summer day and run a cornhole event. We were living the dream. Okay. You know, like that's.
I know what cornhole is. I first encountered it when I walked through Indiana. Yeah, I think it was Indiana where I first learned about it, and it's a really fun game. But you're right. The first year must have been tough, exciting, and you're still around and still going at it. So that's a very good thing.
Yeah.
You were going to add something, Carolyn, I think a second ago. But
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Karen said was, yeah, we're not a brick and mortar. That really is just one of the really nice things about, you know, if you're considering a Fetch franchise, we're not a brick and mortar, very little overhead. You know, there's marketing material and different things like that, obviously, that you know, things to purchase. But yeah, that's one of the really attractive things. There's also, I wanted to mention, there's also a few different models. So you've got your owner operator model, which is what I am, and Milwaukee. And then you've got, you know, your managed services, which is more of kind of like if you want to take a step back and look at this more of like as an investment. So there's kind of multiple, you know, different areas you could, different ways you could go about this. So yeah, if somebody's interested, there's information on the website for sure.
Yeah, we'll get that in a second, but I missed something, Karen. I want to go back to you. Is that something I learned a long time ago about business? And I think it's more now that when you start a business, it's going to take 2 times the amount of time that you project, 2 times the amount of money, 2 times of everything it's going to take to actually get to that point or place where you think, whether it's a BMW or I'd just like to have a little bit more free time, or I'd like to have some more options, you know, with my lifestyle, whatever's motivating, it takes a lot longer. And marketing, I'm sure, as you learned, since you come from the teaching world, marketing is probably the hardest skill. Is how do you acquire clients, right? That's not an easy one.
Yeah, word of mouth is a part of it. But then, or you create events and you go, you know, you go do those things. And then you're like, but what's the turnaround? You know, you don't know, you can't put your finger on exactly what's working and what's not, because everything takes time to find out. You know, you have to, you're just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks, and you have to wait and find out, because again, it's long term. You have to keep doing that, keep putting yourself out there, and over time those things will work. But of course we all want instant results, you know, but we can't get them.
Well, it sounds like you're in it for the long haul,
Yeah.
Karen. You've got the passion, and you certainly have a professional approach to it. So it sounds like you're in the long haul. So it will, like I said, I think probably the only recession-proof business is probably the animal business out there. I think it's the only one that actually goes opposite. So it's a negative correlation when everyone's sad and the world's not doing good, people want to be around animals. So. All right, as we kind of wind things down. We're a little bit over an hour right now, so we try to stick to an hour. Let me go to you, Carolyn. Is there anything else that you would like to leave the audience with?
You know, just that we are focused on, you know, their pets' well-being. You know, when we hire, we're looking at hiring through the lens of, is this the type of pet sitter that I would want for my own pet? So, you know, and we're all about, you know, the consistency, providing that routine. We all have that empathy gene. I always talk about that, just, you know, looking at it from a client's perspective, and just really, yeah, just we treat them. I know it does. I'm not going to say it sounds cheesy, but I mean, it's kind of our tagline. We love them like you do. You know, we treat those pets as if they were our own. And that's what our clients expect, and that's what we do. And so yeah, we're all about that in-home pet care, that premium pet care service, and that's what we offer.
Well, I would imagine you would have to treat your clients' kids, your clients' Fuzzybutts, the same as your own. Because if not, they would tell on you. They'd tell your clients like that one Squirrel and Ginger, and you wouldn't have repeat business. So
That's right. Yeah.
All right, Karen, back to you. Just as we wind things down here, any last thoughts that you would like to leave pet parents with?
Just love your pets and let us help take care of them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Carolyn, why don't you give us where can pet parents find pet care? Where can they find your services?
Sure. Yeah, I know it can be a mouthful. So it's just fetchpetcare.com. If they just go to the main website, I want to say up at the top, there's some information to click on about franchising. Just a quick, questionnaire, I think, and then somebody from the home office reaches out and will, start the ball rolling for sure. Yeah, just go to the website, fetchpetcare.com.
And if you're
it's the, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Luke, but so it's the holidays and there are probably people that are like, oh, I forgot to get a pet sitter. So do they still have time to call, to get in touch with Fetch?
Yeah.
And would they go to that same, website and then put in the city that they were looking for to get your information?
Yeah. Thank you, Ginger. Exactly. Yeah. That's what we would want them to do. Just go to the website. They can find us based on zip code or, city, town. There's a bunch of different ways you can find us. But we, for many of us, November, December are our busiest times. And so we have staffed up knowing that people, things happen. People forget, or they weren't planning to go out of town and now they are, or maybe that kid down the street isn't available anymore and they need somebody they know they can rely on. So we are fully prepared. It's only the 11th. We still have some time.
And what's the website again?
Fetchpetcare.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and you just go over there and you enter your zip code, and it will give you all the information that you need. One question I did leave off, and this kind of segues into at the end of each episode, we do a puppy up cancer tip of the week. But Ginger, you could take it from here and talk about whether the pet sitters are skilled in lumps and bumps. So why don't you take it from here, Ginger, since you're always talking about lumps and bumps.
So funny, you're putting me on the lumps and bumps when I was going to talk about weight control, but okay.
Weight control.
So we at Puppy Up, I'm going to die on the lumps and bumps hill. I'm just telling you. So, we encourage everybody to check their dogs over for lumps and bumps. If they find anything, to see their veterinarian. And I know, like I said earlier, that I take care of a lot of my friends' dogs, and I'm the first person who finds it. I don't know if they can have a smaller than a pea size lump or bump, and I find it. So I would imagine your pet sitters are doing the same thing as well, because sometimes as somebody that's not in the family taking care of the dog, sometimes I pet them more. I mean, that's what you're there for, right? Especially if you're overnight, because what else are you going to do? You're a pet, you're playing with the dog, you're sleeping with them, and for me, I'm always petting everywhere, well, there are some places I don't pet, but I often leave that to somebody else to check those areas. But, I get under their arms, and their armpits, they're around their face and their ears, and everything. And sometimes people just look at those, but they can, I would encourage anybody out there that's looking for a pet sitter to also just ask them, just rub my dog all over, look in their ears or whatever, because they may have missed something. It's like, it's kind of like the groomer. I have relied heavily on my groomer to tell me when she finds something that's abnormal on my dog. So that is the one thing. And then I'm going to get to the weight, Luke. So tis the holiday season for everyone to gain weight, but kind of try not to overfeed your pets, because a healthy weight on a pet is much better than it being overweight, because it causes so many issues, along with it can cause some types of cancer. So keep your pets trim if you can, and if you can't walk them all the time, you just need to call Fetch.
Yeah, I thought you carried that a little bit further, though, to that we have the 10 early warning signs of cancer in companion animals on our website, and it would be great. We saw a pet sitter that actually put them, I think, somewhere for her employees, and they actually found a lump on one of their clients' dogs. And as you guys know, I'm sure as you know, early detection of cancer and Fuzzybutts is absolutely critical because they can't tell you when
Right.
you're not feeling 100%. And so, as we unfortunately commonly see, by the time at which a dog typically is diagnosed with cancer, it's very advanced. It may have already metastasized. So you have a very trusted, your pet sitters have a very trusted and important role that they play in having a second set of eyes and a second set of hands on your client's Fuzzybutt. So we would love to get you the 10 early warning signs that we have on our website that you could offer them, because it's not just lumps and bumps. I know sometimes pet parents, they get used to smells. Well, we know if a dog's breath smells really, really rancid or bad, that could be an early sign of oral melanoma. So it just would be great that that your pet sitters have that additional information and offer that, because Ginger has found lumps on my kids, and I'm like, I got my hands on my kids all the time, but she found the lump and I didn't. I feel like it. So having that second set of eyes and second nose and second set of hands is so important that your pet sitter offer. Though, well, it's been
I can actually send you guys we have, they're like business card size. I can send you some of those that they can drop off. And we also have our lumps and bumps checklist. So it has like that medical drawing of the dog that's all spread out, and it tells you in detail on how to check your dog, how to mark it, call the vet, all those good things. So we can either email those to you, or I can just have some printed up in Milwaukee or Chicago at an area close to at a Office Depot. I think that's what they are now, close to you guys, and you can just pick them up and have your pet sitters hand them out.
That's awesome. We would love that. Yeah. Thank you so
Okay.
much. That's
We'll add it into our orientation, our training for sure.
yeah. For
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys help provide a wonderful service, a much needed service. I kind of mentioned it before. I never got into it. Indiana is having trouble with mobility. I broke my foot, and so we tried to use Fetch in our area, which was not available to us. And I thought, wow, we're in a real problem here, because Ginger had to go out of town. I don't have any friends. I don't trust my neighbors, or don't know them well enough to trust them with my kids. And so thank you guys for what you do. And I forgot to mention, Karen, thank you for what you do with rescues. And Carolyn, thank you for supporting pet rescues out there. They need all the help that they can get, especially this time of year. So thank you for what you do with Fetch Pet Care. You think it's hard saying it the way you say it, but try doing it when you can't feel the left side of your mouth. and now it's becoming unnumb. So it's all tingling, and I got this weird feeling. So this is the time to conclude the episode, because I'm having trouble speaking. I apologize to the audience and to my guests, but thank you so much, Karen and Carolyn with Fetch Pet Care, for coming on Fuzzybutts and Friends this episode. Ginger, before we go, did I screw anything up? Did I forget anything this time, like every time?
I don't think so.
All right. Well,
it was perfect. It was perfect.
Well, all right. Well, everybody have a happy holiday, a warm holiday season with your Fuzzybutts. Make sure you do check out good foods, bad foods, and all the things that we need to think about this time of year. Until next week, we'll have a new episode of Fuzzybutts and Friends. You can find it on Spotify or iHeartRadio, or you can watch it on our YouTube channel, which is at fuzzybutstudios.com. Until next week, Fuzzybutt or Puppy Up, talk soon. my mouth is I can't even feel it. It's crazy.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Puppy Up, talk soon.